Hello, and welcome to another episode of Meg Only Knows How to Jerry Rig Studio Equipment. Let's talk about theme. Let's talk about theme in stories today, actually. Back in January of last year, I published a blog post entitled 4 Ways to Identify Theme in Your Stories, and I would like to take a moment to expand upon that now that it's been a year and a half and I've had time to grow and mature as both writer, editor, and person. Before we jump in, let's talk about what theme actually means. The term theme, according to ofpanthers.com, can be defined as the underlying meaning of a story. It is the message the writer is trying to convey through the story. Often the theme is a broad message about life. The theme of a story is important because a story's theme is part of a reason the author wrote it. Now, a lot of times when we hear people talk about theme, they will make the attempt to boil it down to one single word. The theme is love. The theme is friendship. The theme is family. While that is a good way to pick out elements of your theme as you're writing or even as you're reading, that's not the only way to identify theme. One thing we need to do is to understand what it is exactly that you're looking for. The theme is not the same, first of all, as the moral or the plot. It is not the same as any allegories or metaphors. The theme can be present in those things, but it is very distinctly different from those things. Elements like love and family, things that you want to connect to your reader through. So understand, first of all, what you're even looking for. The primary rule with a theme is that they must do one thing, and that thing is to somehow reflect the human condition. So when we're looking at famous stories, things that perform well, stories that really resonate with a large group of people, typically the reason that they are so successful is because they reach out to the heart and soul of what many people believe and what many people understand. To take a piece from the original blog, let's look at Love Conquers All. Love Conquers All would be more of a moral of a story, while the theme itself in said story might be just love or just struggling. The theme should feed into the morals or the allegories that you are attempting to put forth. So if your theme is love, then maybe your moral is love conquers all, or vice versa. Theme and moral and allegory and metaphor and plot should all be super intertwined whenever you are putting together a theme for your story. A lot of authors, especially newer authors, will dive into their story not really understanding what the message is they are trying to convey. And therefore, their morals and their allegories and even their plot are all over the place, and it's really hard to pick out a theme. This is why one of the first questions I ask newer authors once I finish reading their book is, what did you want me to feel at the end of that? What is it exactly you want your audience to come out the other side feeling? If you could identify one emotion, just one, that you want them to fully experience when they close your book, that is one way to identify your theme. It can be trickier than just love. Love as a theme is fantastic. It's super easy for everyone to connect with. It's very easy to showcase when you practice showing, not telling in your stories. But then there are other themes that are a little bit more difficult to convey. Hope, for instance. How do you convey the feeling of hope through a book, especially through fiction? There are lots of ways to do it through nonfiction because we can look at real life tales of inspiration, underdogs, people who have risen up from the lowest ranks to the top and become their best selves. So how do you convey that through fiction? How do you write a character who gives your audience hope? Lots of ways to do that. One of the first things you could do is contrast. Begin your story with hopelessness. Start your story with the most dire situation or the most dire mindset even for your characters. And as the story progresses, show things that they could be hopeful about. Even if the character themselves never actually gets it, even if the characters in your story don't connect with your theme, you can create ways that the reader can. Beyond, connecting your readers with the theme or making them feel the effects of it throughout the course of your story or even at the end of your story, another thing you could do is just show them the theme without ever resolving it. For instance, a popular theme among genre fiction is alienation. When you look at stories about teens in high school, or you look at stories about, the new guy in town or the new guy at work, aliens, literal aliens, people who move to a new place, or people who have always felt alienated their entire lives. That can be a theme of your story with no resolution. Obviously, stories, especially fictional stories with resolution, are typically more satisfying to your reader, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way to do theme. You can simply have a theme be alienation or ambition. A character tries their whole lives to, chop to the top, to shoot themselves up to the very top of that ladder. Maybe they succeed, maybe they never succeed. But if the main idea that you're trying to convey through the story is ambition, it doesn't really matter what happens for the character as long as the audience sees it and connects with it. There are a ton of popular themes in genre fiction, including things like betrayal, family, discovery, love, sacrifice, reward, overcoming adversity, death, life, love, hate, good, evil, good versus evil. These are all themes, and these are all things that carry the weight of the story on their shoulders. When you have an idea what the foundation of your story is, the theme will pop through super clear, both for you and for your audience. And strong themes make for better writing. That is a purely pre-Joycean mindset to approach writing with. What's the theme and how can I make it appear in every single piece of my story? How can I convey from different perspectives through different mindsets to a variety of different readers what exactly the theme here is? When you can do that, and when you spend your energy and your time looking for tiny little ways to insert your theme throughout the story, your writing will thank you, your audience will thank you, and you will thank me for improving your writing. So let's talk about ways to identify the theme in your story, especially if you are already writing, you already have some idea what it is you want your story to be about. See if you can summarize your plot in one sentence or two sentences. Come up with your elevator pitch. What is this story ultimately about? When I ask that question, a lot of people say to me, it's about a lot of things. It's about this guy, and this thing happens. That's the plot of your story. That is the setting of your story. But what is it about? What are the things that inspire? What are the things that terrify? What are the things that emotionally impact? Think about one or two main things that happen within your story and why they are so important. And if you spend some time with that elevator pitch, really narrowing down every aspect of your story, you will start to see patterns. You will start to see the things that you want to convey. And maybe they're not super clearly conveyed to your audience. And now it's time to take what you've learned and inject it into every part of your story. Make it strong, make it cohesive, make the fibers all weave and mesh together. What this little hand motion is, but you get it, right? And obviously, you can do the same thing that I do, which is to ask yourself, what do I want people to walk away from this thinking about? If you had to put into one word what it is you hope people think, feel, contemplate when they're done with your book, that is your theme right there. And even if it's not allegorically used throughout your story or metaphorically used throughout your story, even if you never use the word that is the primary focus of your theme, it's really important that you know what it is. Why? Because once you know it, you can start putting pieces of it into every little bit of your story. And I promise you, knowing and understanding your theme and working to integrate it into every aspect does make your writing stronger. It feels like a great big pain in the backside while you're doing it, especially when you haven't had a lot of practice or you haven't had any practice at all. but it's so worth it. It's one of those things that is genuinely important for your writing, for you as a writer to grow and improve. If you can't determine any of these things by yourself, if you're looking at your story and you're wondering, well, I'm just not sure, then one question you can ask yourself is, what is a universal experience within this story? What is something that everyone can look at and say, hey, yeah, that makes sense? And I don't mean things that actually happen within the setting, although those can be used to strengthen your story and to lend credence to your theme. If you can't figure out what it is yourself, figure out what other people think it is. Have a couple beta readers or some friends go through it and ask them what they think the theme might be. They could be right or they could be wrong, but either way, knowing the impression that other people have on your work helps you to figure out, to narrow things down. Even if they're wrong, well, at least you've ruled out something. You know that that is not the theme of your story. And as you narrow it down and as you continue to grow, you'll get better and better at identifying this for yourself. Even experienced writers, however, don't get it right 100% of the time. And that's also okay. It's okay to ask for feedback. It's okay to talk to your editor. It's okay to talk to your beta readers, to express to them that you're not really sure where you're going with this or what the point is. And let them look at it and tell you what they think. And they'll either be right or they won't. Why is it important to know your theme? Well, the plain and simple truth is this. Every book in existence has one. Every movie, every TV show, some of them are not great. Some of the themes are, hey, people suck. Get used to it. If you watch How I Met Your Mother, I would say the theme of that show is nothing is forever and nothing makes sense, but hey, we're together. So what's the theme here? Family? Loyalty? Nonsense? Nonsense could be the theme. Nonsense can definitely be a theme. Ask Douglas Adams. Ask Terry Pratchett. Although I believe with Terry Pratchett a lot of the time, the theme is God is in your imagination, which is also a valid theme. It's a little hard to follow if you subscribe more strongly to religious values, but it's still a valid theme, and it still makes for some pretty awesome stories. Sidebar here, if you have not yet seen the Amazon iteration of Good Omens, which is based on the book written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, I do highly recommend. I believe the theme of that story is friendship. If you think I am wrong or if you think I am right, I would love to hear why in the comments to this video here. And I have a hot take. I think the show is better than the book. Dun dun dun. And I would love to hear your responses to that in the comments below as well. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's been eons since I've posted a video, but I'm planning on getting back on that horse. If you want to read some blogs by myself or by our incredibly talented guest bloggers, head on over to patreon.com/overhaulmynovel. We write about everything to do with writing, and obviously writing is the theme of our blog. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you around soon.